Where the harbor meets the Gulf on Florida's west coast, it's St. Petersburg, and this is the Bayfront Center for the International 3-on-3. Hi, everybody. I'm Al Trautwig, along with Olympic gold medalist Tim Daggett and Elfie Schlegel, and this is not your everyday gymnastics gathering in St. Petersburg.
But it is a lot of fun. There's a lot less pressure in this competition as compared to the American Cup, but there's a great deal of strategy with this 3-on-3 competition. The key is, do you go with your strong event in the first round of competition, or do you save it for the second round and hope that that will win the event? That's the key. Well,
the Americans have, as they compete against 7 other teams, sort of the home podium advantage. How have they taken advantage of it?
Well, they first of all have Blaine Wilson and Jenny Thompson, and Elfie mentioned about the fun, but anytime athletes of that caliber walk out on the floor, it is all business. But maybe the most important component is the rhythmic athlete. USA Gymnastics top athlete, Tatiana Brikleskaya, will round off that team, and it's a very, very strong team.
There is, in fact, more than one U.S. team. Here's Tatiana Brikleskaya from Staten Island, raised in Odessa, Ukraine. She moved to the United States with her family in 1996. And quite simply, Elfie, she injects a lot of ability into the U.S. rhythmic effort.
Yeah, she's still waiting for citizenship, so it's still very much up in the air as to whether or not she will represent the United States at next year's Olympic Games. Everyone will recognize this. This is Thriller by MJ. Rhythmic gymnastics is scored much differently from artistic gymnastics. There's really 2 components that we're looking for. They get 10 points for the composition of the routine, which is broken down into technical and the artistic value. And the second component is execution. That is also marked out of 10 points. Total routine is out of 20, but they divide that score by 2.
We should mention the rhythmic gymnasts are fresh and excited to be in a competition. The artistic gymnasts have just finished the American Cup, and many of them are mentally and physically exhausted.
Al, Tatiana says that this is her favorite apparatus. You can see by her great smile, technical ability, she's having a lot of fun out there. Great interpretation of the music.
She's got a very polished style. Rhythmic gymnastics, part of the Olympic scene since 1984. And Blaine Wilson with a big smile on his face, just coming off that American Cup victory, his 3rd straight. Trains with the U.S. team in Colorado Springs.
This is actually Blaine's best event, I would say. But as you mentioned, Al, these athletes are tired. 3 days, basically, of very hard competition in a row. And on still rings, strength is key. Has to show perfect positions. Well, another strong start for Blaine Wilson. Keep the rings as steady as possible. He also has to swing to a handstand in both directions. Dismount, full twisting, double layout.
All right. Cramped a little bit? Huh? Cramped.
One of his coaches at the Olympic Training Center, Vitaly Marinich, asking Blaine if he cramped up a little bit. Talking about, once again, being so tired.
Here's Jenny Thompson. Jenny's probably still about 3 inches above the ground, floating from a most improbable American Cup victory in this very same building.
Good job. I enjoy watching.
She steps out.
Yeah, that's just a 10. This is a new tumbling pass for Jenny. You know, Al, many athletes who have won the American Cup have found their way on Olympic teams, and that's certainly what Jenny's dream is for next year.
I'm tired.
I'm tired. That's USA 1. Brickelskaya, Blaine Wilson, Jenny Thompson.
This is Jenny's opening tumbling run, double layout. A tumbling run that's actually very easy for her. You can see the out of bounds. Had a little extra to give today. 1/10 deduction there.
And so there they sit, and the judges will deliver the numbers. For the ribbon, 9.687, high for Brickelskaya. Blaine Wilson, 9.575 on the still rings. He's a cool cat. And Jenny Thompson at 9.425. So a very solid start for the team known as USA 1. We're back in St. Petersburg, Florida at the International 3-on-3 Championships. We've seen USA 1. Now it's time to get a look at the Chinese effort, Zhou Zhaojing. And again, it's a female artistic gymnast with a male artistic gymnast with a rhythmic gymnast. And we'll start things off with rhythmic, and she has selected the hoop.
And potentially this team is a very, very strong team. We have seen at the recent American Cup some mistakes from the artistic gymnast, but certainly the potential is there.
Zhou Zhaojing is 21 years old. She's actually the Chinese national champion. You'll see a variety of apparatus that the rhythmic gymnast will perform. This is the first time we're seeing the hoop, and there are some specific things that judges look for, including an emphasis on jumps, combinations of jumps. They also look for large rolls with the hoop over the body. Sometimes you'll see the rhythmic gymnast doing leaps through the hoop. That's not good, actually. Every time the gymnast goes out of bounds, it's a 10th deduction along with her apparatus, but the fact that she took so many steps to retrieve her hoop, she's going to get at least 3/10 on the floor and then add up the out of bounds.
Plus, Elfie, the hoop winds up on the judge's table.
Yeah, he's not supposed to hand it back to her. Very difficult elements in the interior of this routine. Here's where it all went wrong. On the toss, performing some acrobatic skills on the floor, she just mishandled the landing there. You can see it was in her hand, out of her hand, and unfortunately went well out of bounds. Huge deductions.
So Zhou Zhaojing will wait to see if her teammates can pick her up, so to speak, and bring the scores up on the team. That'll be up to Zhang Jingjing, who is 21 from Beijing, China. This is the first rotation. After this trip around the arena, there will then be a top 4 team cutoff that will move on to the final round.
And these two athletes that are coming up certainly have the potential to put them back into the hunt. Tremendous technical gymnast we've got here. But once again, we have a little bit of a problem. He was supposed to remain up on that one pommel. We'll see how well he improvises at this point. It is going to cost him some deductions.
We have to remember that we're looking at such a talent here. He's the national champion, 14th all around at the 97 World Championships, actually had the highest score in the team competition, but then blew it in the all around.
Exactly, tremendous ability, but really unrealized at this point.
And Tim, such a huge part of gymnastics is what happens in your brain. I mean, the brain controls the body, and early in the routine, when you have a mistake and your brain knows it, what then happens to the rest of the routine?
Well, it is absolutely critical that you come back from that. You learn to deal with the struggle, take what you've got, and do the best you can with it.
Here's Lu Xuan.
Lu Xuan has actually been struggling here at this event. She was quite weak at the American Cup. I don't imagine that she's had too much training time, but if there were an apparatus that she excels on, it would be the uneven bars. You can see just in that cast a handstand, bending her arms a little bit, struggling to get through this routine, form breaks on the legs.
But Chinese bars, beautiful inverted giants here. Notice the bars a little bit shaky. They've had some problems with these while they've been here.
Makes it through.
Sticks the landing.
That's going to be close though, Al, because, you know, we did see obviously the mistake by the rhythmic gymnast, and then on the pommel horse with Jing Jing, a little bit of a struggle.
But I'll have to say that this routine there was effort put into this exercise. She really had a hard time. That was a highlight. Her release skill right there, called it Tkachev, but throughout the whole routine, just small minor breaks with her legs, her arms bent on handstands. Gets through this dismount, double layout. Nails that one.
So now the judges tally up. Remember, the hoop went into the judges area, 9.162. The penalty has been given. On the pommel horse, Zhang Jingjing, 9.25. And on the uneven bars, 9.65. So that's the highest mark given to the Chinese. More from St. Petersburg after this. Strange gym fellows in St. Petersburg at the International 3-on-3 Championships. The Ukrainians arrived with a male and a female artistic gymnast, but no rhythmic gymnast. So Jessica Howard of Jacksonville, Florida, has been put onto their team to complete them, so to speak.
Al, they should be extremely pleased to have Jessica on board. She's a young, new, up-and-coming star for the United States, just 15 years old. Was a junior last year, so this is her first year as a senior athlete and her first big international event, she told me.
And the rhythmic gymnasts are allowed to select ribbon, rope, hoop, or ball.
Actually 4 different routines that they perform to. The difficulty here is they have to come up with something new and creative, new choices of music. With this particular apparatus, as you're seeing right here, you see a lot of skipping movements in this routine. The emphasis is on jumps and skips. They also have to toss the rope while performing sometimes acrobatic skills below. Jessica's big toss. She's doing an excellent job, very creative, innovative skills. That'll be a top score for this team.
How do the artistic gymnasts feel about rhythmic?
Well, you know, it is a very, very different sport, Al. I'm sure that they can respect it, but to be quite honest, it is so different that they don't really know all that much about it. This really is a big opportunity for the rhythmic athletes. They're very excited about it.
Now to the rest of the Ukraine effort here. Alexander Beresh
Has a very famous coach, former world champion Igor Korobchinsky, good friend of mine, competitor way back. Feels that this young man can be a contender in Sydney in the all-around. We'll see a little bit later on. Hopefully this team makes it in because he is tremendous on high bar. Also very good here.
He said he started when he was 6 years old. A coach was actually driving down the street and noticed his build. Thought that he'd be terrific in the sport of gymnastics.
Dismount remaining. Fly up to that handstand. Absolutely no mistakes in this routine. Not as much one pommel work that we typically see on the pommel horse event, but a very, very strong and stable exercise.
Now a very strong gymnast, Victoria Karpenko.
Victoria won in 1998, but at this year's American Cup had some problems on this event, ended up 4th all around in the competition. Certainly wasn't her day, but she is much stronger on this event than we saw at the American Cup.
Talked a little bit about Jenny Thompson and some of her injury struggles. This young lady has also had her share and then some. Actually recovering from ankle surgery. This is one of her first big meets back. Big dismount, full twisting double F.
If you can believe this, she actually came to this event and had watered down her routine. She said she was still building, working on some other skills, but wasn't quite ready because this is her first event of the year.
Tremendous routine here from Victoria. Now watch this, full spin right into an inverted giant. Beautifully done. A great exercise, and all three actually of these athletes very, very strong. Should easily advance.
Well, let's check out the scores now. Jessica Howard with the rope, 9.687. Alexander Beresh, 9.475. And Victoria Karpenko, a 9.65. So they move in front of USA 1 here at the International 3-on-3 Championships. Jason Gatson of the United States anchors USA 2 next. Back in St. Petersburg, Al Trautwig, Elfie Schlegel, Tim Daggett, the International 3-on-3. Time now for the second team representing the United States. This is Natalie LaCuesta from Wilmette, Illinois. She's the rhythmic gymnast in the trio, and she has selected the hoop.
Yeah, she just took a peek up at the ceiling height to see how much height she had to work with. You'll see quite a few tosses in this exercise. Natalie is the 97 and 98 national champion of the United States. And I think one of her greatest qualities is her ballet background. She's very artistic. This is a very classical style, and it works so well for her. Al, you had asked about differences between artistic and rhythmic gymnastics, and I think clearly what you see is that they are oftentimes better dancers. They have a chance to express themselves a lot more in these routines. Rhythmic gymnasts are extremely flexible.
Creative.
And that's what this sport is about, always pushing the limits, trying to be more creative than the next.
Natalie LaCuesta, they liked it here at the Bayfront Center in St. Petersburg. Next turn belongs to Jason Gatson, who's been saying how tired he is after the American Cup, and then Jeanette Antolin. Jason trains with Blaine Wilson. The two have a great internal rivalry between the two. We've seen Blaine basically leading the American gymnastic effort, and Jason keeping up, and for a few moments this past week threatening to move past Blaine Wilson.
Exactly, with moves like that.
Okay.
Full twisting double out, a little bit of a shuffle on that landing. You can tell Jason is a little bit tired.
That's right.
For the last 6 months, he's been saying, I want to beat Blaine Wilson, and he did that in the preliminary portion of the American Cup competition. He said it really gave him a taste of success.
But you know, both of these athletes, Jason and Jeanette, fell a little bit short of their goals at the recent American Cup, and frankly, this is an opportunity for both of them. Nice Japanese handstand there. As I've said many times, this young man, a serious contender, not only to travel to Sydney, but to win a medal on this event right here. Big dismount, full twisting double. Kerpow.
That's what he does so well.
He sure does.
Hey, Tim, he lands hard.
You know, he's got, you know, it's a very, very difficult thing to teach an athlete. You have to hit the floor. You've got to actually meet the floor very, very hard initially, and then there needs to be an absorption that happens right after that.
Come on, Jeanette.
Team spirit.
There you go. Many athletes, though, really struggle with that their entire career. He's got it down.
Here's Jeanette Antolin, who has a sister who was also a gymnast, so the Antolin gymnastic genes are very powerful, but Katie had some back problems that forced her to give up the effort.
Katie actually has a full scholarship at Cal State Fullerton, has enjoyed watching Jeanette and her success. Jeanette is now 6th in this country and really has a legitimate shot at making the Olympics next year. She's that close.
Swings with a tremendous amount of speed.
Yeah, this is her best event by far. Her coach is Dawn Peters. She trains at SCATS in Huntington Beach, California. Dawn Peters, of course, was the 1984 Olympic coach. I like her. She's really aggressive. You know, Dawn said that most athletes, when the green light goes on, they're like, darn, it's my turn. With Jeanette, it's like, yeah, my time to show what I'm made of.
Take a look at her dismount here. She'll turn herself around, pirouetting element in a mixed grip, double front. She'll do a half turn, which enables her to spot the ground right there. Just that small step on the landing, but a great exercise.
Consistently high for all three. Let's see what the judges thought. First for Natalie LaCuesta with the hoop, a score of 9.587. So the rhythmic gymnasts are showing themselves off here in St. Petersburg. Jason Gatson gets a score of 9.55, and Jeanette Antolin gets a score of 9.45. That moves them up and in very good position to move on to the next round. We'll have more on NBC after this. It's the final team in rotation number 1, and they come from Spain. First, it's the rhythmic gymnast, Almudena Cid.
Almudena comes to this competition with a wealth of international experience. She was at the '96 Olympics, placed 9th. She's a 3-time Spanish national champion. She considers her best quality as a rhythmic gymnast to be her flexibility, and you'll see why in a second.
That is unbelievable.
Al, I think for the audience, this is probably their most favorite of the 4 apparatus because of its color and its size. One of the difficulties, however, for the rhythmic gymnasts is that they have to constantly keep the ribbon in motion.
There's something very captivating about watching it. It's beautiful.
Almudena says that this romantic style is one of her favorites in rhythmic. Of course, rhythmic gymnasts have to perform a variety of styles. They have 4 different routines.
Now Jesus Carballo Jr. He's going to perform on the still rings, which disappoints me greatly because he's an awesome high bar performer. Why do you think he's elected to not go with his strength?
Well, actually, he'll be doing it in the second round if they advance.
But I mean, you want to guarantee your slot there.
Well, yeah, and to be honest, he's actually pretty darn good on rings. The thing you want to look for on rings is obviously the strength parts, and they have to be done perfectly, but he also combines some very difficult swing elements that give him a lot of bonus as well. He actually is much improved in the strength area. But here are those swing elements done in combination. A lot of tense. Very, very difficult. And you see how he lands in the handstand with no swing? Well, so far this is a fantastic routine. Looks like a great decision.
Absolutely. Hey, Tim, he played his king when you thought he should have played his ace, but the king looked like an ace and he still has the ace to play.
And he does. He is former world champion on high bar. That's coming up a little bit later as long as they do advance.
All right, now here's the final member of the trio, Rebecca Toledano.
Again, didn't really reach her expectations at the American Cup, but a fantastic gymnast. She was born in Madrid, trains at the National Training Center, which actually houses both men's and women's gymnastics along with rhythmic gymnastics. And her coach, seen right there on the right-hand corner, is Jesus Carballo Sr. Just saw his son perform.
Elfie, you told me it's like a department store. It's the men on one floor, the women on another, rhythmic on another.
Yeah, they keep them all together. I tell you, this Spanish trio is doing a fantastic job, and they might very well find themselves in the last round.
They might very well find themselves in front.
She is fantastic on this event, Tim. I was going to say 6th on bars at the 98 European Championships.
Not just hard stuff, but very, very tight body line, good positions. Just a slight form break right there, but overall an excellent routine.
Really locked it up on this dismount. Double layout, beautiful stretched body. Just a very slight hop.
Okay, let's total it up. For Almudena Cid, it's a 9.80. That is the highest rhythmic score in the competition. And the rest of the team kept up with her. Jesus Carballo Jr. gets a 9.60. That is the highest men's score that's been given so far. And Rebecca Toledano, while not recording the highest score, gets a very solid 9.575. So the team from Spain is in the lead here at the International 3-on-3. That means they will go to the final round and will be joined by the combined Ukraine-USA team and USA 1 and 2. China just misses. Here in St. Petersburg, we take the top 4 teams, move to the final round, and USA 2, which finished 4th, will start first. So they do it in reverse order. It'll be Natalie LaCuesta who will be using, obviously, the ball. And Elfie Schlegel has been a rock of rhythmic gymnastics information today.
She's too.
Tell you, Elfie, there are some basketball players who could go to the Natalie LaCuesta rhythmic camp.
Absolutely. It never ceases to amaze me at how creative, how innovative they are with the apparatus. I think most rhythmic gymnasts would train up to as many hours as we've talked about with artistic gymnasts, some 30 hours a week. One of the difficulties with the ball apparatus is trying to make it look like an extension of your body. There's a slight little fumble right there, but again, we have to remember that's not a huge deduction. What you have to look at is how quickly she retrieved the apparatus and got back into her routine. It's probably just a 10th. Oh, now that is a much larger error. Could cost her up to 3/10 of a deduction. She took a few steps to actually get the ball, but again, not an automatic 5/10 deduction like a fall off an apparatus that we see in artistic gymnastics.
So far here today, the rhythmic scores have been much higher than the artistic scores. Here's Jason Gatson. And again, as we mentioned before, Jason got a 9.55 on the floor, but he and the other artistic gymnasts are talking about how drained they are, having just completed the American Cup here in Florida.
Not just physically, but mentally, very challenging. This young man, one of the few child prodigies that from the beginning people pointed to this kid and might be able to deliver down the road. Big release coming up right here. No, absolutely no way.
Looked like he may have hurt his hands.
Yeah, what happens, you're coming over the bar, you're a little bit too far away, and you kind of punch the bar a little bit with your fingers.
Okay, keep working hard. Kovacs to the end.
His coach, Vitaly Marinich, telling him to repeat that release element that he just fell on. It was actually a technical error. Breaks his shoulder angle quite a bit. Comes up right here, let's see. No problem this time. See a lot of, wow, that's too bad.
To dismount it.
Tim, we've never really seen Jason Gatson break down in a routine like this.
Well, yeah, this is a busted set, no question about it. Double twisting, double somersault.
But he manages the stick.
It's all right.
He looks like he needs a vacation.
Yeah. Well, as we said, this was a technical error. Breaks his shoulder angle right there. Arms are almost down by his sides, and that just takes him too far away from the bar. Actually, better view for this right here. You'll notice his arms drop down where he should be going straight up right there. He breaks that angle, makes his body a little bit lower and just too far away from the bar. Can't recover.
I'm tired.
Like the theme song today.
I'll tell you what, the body language goes with the verbal language in his case. And now let's see if Jeanette Antolin can salvage something for USA 2. She had a 9.45 in her first rotation on the uneven bars.
Pretty tough to do, especially on the balance beam, but take a look at this mount. Combination of acrobatics to a jump, that will give her some bonus points. Remember, Natalie had problems in her ball routine. Jason, problems on high bar, so be pretty difficult for this team. What I like about this routine is she has a real variety of skills. She's aggressive too. That's one thing I've noticed about Jeanette, is she works the beam like she's on the floor.
And Elfie, as you mentioned, this young lady has a shot to be on that Olympic team, a little bit more open for the USA team this time around as opposed to back in 1996.
Jeanette will be competing later on this summer at the Pan American Games. And hopefully will be on the World Championship team coming up in September. The importance of that Worlds is that's where the countries qualify in order to make it to Sydney. Just her dismount. She's been solid.
Tremendous learning experience for this young lady, competing in the American Cup and then doing so well here. Very difficult mount.
Combined with a jump element, she'll have to tighten that up just a little bit. That will get her some bonus points. And then tumbling right through to her acro series, flip-flop layout, flip-flop.
I probably got like an 8, 9
So the total scores now in this final rotation of the international 3-on-3. Natalie LaCuesta gets a 9.375. A very un-Jason Gatson-like 8.05. And Jeanette Antolin gets the highest score of the three, a 9.40. The three more teams to come in the finals. Here in St. Petersburg, it's the finals in the international 3-on-3. Tatiana Brikelskaya got a 9.687, which helped her team qualify for this final round. She competes with Blaine Wilson and Jenny Thompson. The team you'd have to say when this event started was the favorite.
Very different style. This routine will be performed to Phantom of the Opera. I think one of her great qualities in her rhythmic gymnastics is her interpretation of her music, her choreography. Remember, that's part of the artistic value score, which comes under composition. Oops. Again, she recovered very quickly. Al, that's only about a 10th deduction. Something else to point out is that these rhythmic gymnasts are under a great challenge competing on an artistic floor mat. There are springs under there which they normally don't compete on. Plus the floor area is a little bit smaller than what they're used to, a 42 by 42, whereas in artistic gymnastics it's a 40 by 40 mat.
Tatiana Brikelskaya, who moved here 3 years ago from Ukraine with her family to Staten Island, New York.
Tatiana is still awaiting her citizenship. Of course, she would very much like to compete for the United States in Sydney, Australia, but we have to remember that the U.S. still has to qualify at the World Championships for the Olympic Games.
Now it's Blaine Wilson on the high bar.
And Al, this actually is not one of Blaine's best events. Struggled on this a little bit. Actually, I'm a little bit surprised he chose the high bar. Don't quite know. These Stalter elements will give him a couple tenths of bonus. Here comes his release. A little bit of a modification here for Blaine. First day of the American Cup, actually fell off the high bar. Changed his release the second day, won the cup. Wow, like a dart right there. But you know, Al, this routine is not going to get a big score, frankly, because it doesn't have enough start value. There's just not enough there to bring in the big score.
Well, now it'll be the final member of the team, Jenny Thompson. What an amazing journey it is for Jenny Thompson from where she's come to stand here as the American Cup champion. Here's Beth Ruyek.
Jenny Thompson didn't know where the journey would take her, though she always believed it would be the Olympics. After all, she'd been in the gym since preschool. Jenny and Dominique Moceanu were still tiny kids when they were called world class. She was coached by the best and learned discipline and respect from training partners who became legends. In 1993, Jenny was 12 and a junior when she became the youngest national champion. But then came struggles, coaching changes, 2 major surgeries, and Jenny's biggest disappointment. The 1996 Olympic trials. Her dream disappeared. She would not be an Olympian.
As soon as I was finished with Olympic trials, I knew that I wasn't going to stop there. I don't think it would have been good for me as an athlete or really a person, because I really wasn't happy with the way that I did and the way that I felt. When I was little, like before '96, it was good for me to be with Bella and Steve then, because it was more of a strict atmosphere and like pushing, motivation, and all that. I think after I started like getting a little bit older and understanding like kind of what I wanted to do with my life and how I wanted to be, the positive approach is a lot better than the yelling and all that. It's kind of a turning point in my career as a gymnast. I kind of stepped away from my parents and was like, this is what I want to do, and I don't really want you guys to come with me this time.
2 years ago, without her parents, Jenny moved to Cincinnati, to the nurturing arms of Mary Lee Tracy, who's had her own way of building champions. Like her friend Kim Zameskel, Jenny was a gymnast ready to be reborn.
Mary Lee cares a lot about each and every one of us that are there, and she does her best to try to meet all of our needs, and that's hard at times.
When Jenny came, she was just kind of down on herself. No longer believed in herself, didn't know where she fit in. I knew that she needed to know she fit in somewhere. Once that was conveyed, then all the gymnastics began to come back. Come on, Jenny. Find the landing. Get it. Get it. Jenny Thompson!
Finally, 2 months ago at American Cup, Jenny Thompson became a champion again. At a time in her life when dreams are still there, but expectations have changed. Jenny Thompson, 17 years old, humble and grateful.
Jenny, congratulations, you're the brand new American Cup champion.
To go out there and know that like I can stand up there with the rest of them, I think it gives me a lot of confidence.
From Steve Nuno and Bella Caroli to Mary Lee Tracy and this. Well, I think that story sort of said it all about Jenny Thompson.
And you know, as Elfie mentioned a little bit earlier, that American Cup title, it goes a long, long way. It has been the starting point for many a tremendous gymnastics career. Ace right here.
Whoops.
Well, a little hop on the landing, but I'll tell you what, we just watched Jenny Thompson
Jenny,
grow
all
up
right?
before our very eyes, didn't we?
Yeah, it's amazing.
You okay? What is mom?
It's been a long week of
You sure?
gymnastics, and
Okay, just jammed a little bit.
that's
Shake
why
it off.
she's the American Cup
Hey,
champion.
Jen. Good job.
And you know, Elfie and I always talk about these blind landings. Can't see the floor. You have to basically feel it, and she just doesn't know it's going to be there, and that smarts a little bit, but looks like she's fine.
Yeah, you know my schedule.
Well, looks like Jenny's going to be able to smile through it. Let's go through the scores here. First, Tatiana Brickelskaya, the rhythmic gymnast of USA 1. It's a 9.575. The rhythmic scores have been higher than the artistic scores today here in St. Petersburg. Blaine Wilson, Tim Daggett mentioned his low start value. So in spite of any serious flaws in a routine, he gets only a 9.050. But Jenny Thompson gets a cheer for a 9.70. Two more teams to go here at the International 3-on-3. It's showdown time at the International 3-on-3. This is Jessica Howard, very solid with the rope earlier. Now she's selected the ball. She is working with two members of the Ukrainian gymnastics effort here to complete their three-person team. They will go, and then Spain, to decide who'll win this in St. Petersburg. The scores from the opening rotation do not carry over into the final round.
Something interesting about Jessica Howard, and this is quite common in rhythmic gymnastics, is she started as an artistic gymnast and only went into rhythmic at age 9. I think it's clear to see that Jessica is really well suited for this sport. She has extreme flexibility, a wonderful ability to interpret music, and actually quite tall at age 15. Balance is very important when working with the ball. She's been a real strength for this team.
People here in the Bayfront Center liked it. Now it's up to Alexander Beresh and Victoria Karpenko, her teammates.
I actually been waiting for this routine and the next high bar routine that we're going to see all day long. This is about as nuts as you get. Just point blank, the stuff this guy does is on the verge of being crazy.
Third in the world on this event.
Comes right here. Check this out, full twisting, Kovacs. Unreal. One more time, way in the air.
He makes it look way too easy.
Well, that's exactly it, Elfie. It is so darn difficult, and it looks like his body just goes right back to the bar, and it really doesn't work that way, I can tell you. Definitely a contender for Olympic medal. Wow.
Well, these gymnasts want to peak at the World Championships in a few months. He looks like he's ready to go right now.
You know, we've been hanging out with these guys for about the last week, and watching him train and compete on high bar, he does these things that are so hard, and it, frankly, it's like he should miss some more. Look at all that's going on. That's a full twisting Kovacs. Not many of those done in the world, and he does it with perfect form, and he catches extended. Watch, he'll do another Kovacs right here. Most athletes like to have this in a little bit close so they for sure hold on. Look at his arms are extended. Wow.
Well, after Jessica Howard and now that from Alexander Beresh, this team's got to be thinking that they can win, especially with a gymnast like Victoria Karpenko ready to complete their effort.
Victoria actually trained with the 96 Olympic champion Lilia Pokopaeva. Both their coaches, Oleg Ostapenko. Oleg actually told us that her original coach disappeared from their gym. He took her on in his group even though he had a full group. It's a good thing.
Out of bounds there. That'll be a 1/10 of a point and a little bit off-centered, also a deduction. So far we have seen some very difficult gymnastics from Victoria.
Her feet have to be killing her right now, right?
That was a tough landing. That was her third tumbling pass. You know she's still planning one more. 4 tumbling passes in this routine.
I don't know how she did that, and if she's not limping as she walks off, I'll be shocked.
You know, you combine that with recovering from recent ankle surgery, and as you mentioned, that definitely smarts. She just doesn't really even come close to this triple full right here. Doesn't quite get the twist around, and then not enough rotation.
Yeah, ouch. That's a lack of training too. She said she came to this competition not quite prepared, not as well as she hoped to be. Again, remember, this is her first competition of the year. Because of that surgery. 1.5 twist. Here's a combination tumbling pass into a 2.5 twist punch front. You can see off the angle of the Florex, plus she steps out of bounds as a 10th deduction.
Let's go through the scores now and see if they can, in fact, still be in a position to win. Jessica Howard, very high, 9.712. Alexander Beresh, equally rewarded, 9.725. Karpenko, 9.05, and still they're in first place. Only one more challenge to come, and it is the Spaniards next. And now, the final team in the international 3-on-3, Almudena Cid of Spain, as you can see. I mean, she has shown herself extremely well here with a 9.80, but that score and none of the scores carry over into this final round. If they're going to win it, they're going to have to beat the combined team of the USA-Ukraine gymnasts that we saw just a moment ago.
And this will be quite a contrast from her ribbon exercise. She says this is a happy piece. She has a lot of fun with this one. She was influenced into the sport of rhythmic gymnastics by her mother. She said she really enjoyed dancing at home.
lot of very intricate
moves.
and fun to watch moves. Almudena Cid of Spain. And now we come to a moment that I think we've all been waiting for, having watched him in the American Cup and in preparation for this event. Jesus Carballo Jr. on the high bar.
And now what's so exciting about Jesus on high bar is he doesn't just do hard and difficult things, but these things he's actually invented. They are his own moves, and in the cookie cutter world of gymnastics that we've seen with the new code of points, that is such a breath of fresh air to see some hard, intricate, but different gymnastics.
Tim, I asked him why his dad doesn't coach him. He said, I make him way too nervous, probably for this reason alone.
First release, right? Oh, that's too bad. You know, just talking about pushing that envelope and doing things that are a little bit uncharacteristic. Well, that's something that is equally uncharacteristic.
And he didn't just miss the bar, he missed it by a lot.
Yeah, he did. That skill that he was attempting, valued as a super E. Too bad. Super E gives him 3/10 of a point if he catches the bar. You do the math, though. You lose 5 when you fall off. Right here, another one of his original elements, done so well.
Interesting, he chose not to repeat what he didn't get right.
I think at this point he realizes that maximum score he can get, absolute maximum, around a 9.4 with a fall. Not going to even be close to that either. That's too bad.
And that fall could cost the Spanish team the win here today.
Well, that routine's going to have a hard time getting out of the 8s. Look at this. He just stays in too long on this element. A lot going on. And you see, he doesn't even lift his arms over his head. Should start opening his body sooner. Doesn't really get extended. And doesn't even go for the bar. Not even close.
Well, we'll wait to see what the damage actually has been. Comes down now to Rebecca Toledano.
I think as good as she is on the floor exercise, and we're going to see some pretty incredible tumbling from this young lady. She's planning 4 tumbling passes. I think it's going to be very difficult for her to carry this team.
And yet, when you look at the 2 teams that are in front right now, they have also had one bad routine in their 3.
She's already completed 3 tumbling passes. This is number 4. She's planning a triple twist.
Well, she certainly can tumble, I'll tell you that.
And we'll see. She really needed to hit a home run ball over the wall. And here we go. Nope, they're going to miss. And the Ukrainian-U.S. effort is going to win this. Victoria Karpenko, Alexander Beresh, and Jessica Howard, because here are the scores. Almudena Sid with the hoop gets a huge number, 9.787. However, Jesus Carballo Jr., as Tim predicted, goes below 9 at 8.85. Rebecca Toledano gets a 9.625. They will finish in third, and that will be behind USA 1 and the Jessica Howard, Alexander Beresh, and Victoria Karpenko team, United States and Ukraine, combining here in this unique international 3-on-3 gymnastics championships in St. Petersburg, Florida. And we talk all the time about missing a 10th here, missing a 10th there. That's the difference, just a couple of missed moves to determine the winner here today. With Beth Ruyak and Elfie Schlegel and Tim Daggett, I'm Al Troutwig. Thanks for joining us.